Well, hey folks, relaunch of which I'm Red is my 10 least favorite wrestlers of 2018, and there will be more positive lists coming up after this. I will have a least favorite matches or worst matches of the year and worst pay-per-views of the year also sprinkled in, but I'm also going to be doing a top 15 favorite women, top 20 favorite WWE NXT superstars or wrestlers, and top 20 favorite New Japan wrestlers. So do not worry, there's going to be plenty of end of year videos. I'm going to have them sprinkled out throughout the year, or throughout the rest of the year, rather. And probably finish them up sometime, I would say, around just after TLC, I'm guessing, and maybe by the end of the year at the latest. So do not worry, there'll be plenty of fresh content, but gonna get cracking on with this 10 least favorite wrestlers of 2018 list with Lio Rush. Lio Rush, after that whole Emma tweet, has seemingly been just fine on Twitter. And yes, he plays his role just fine. He's an incredible talent in the ring. He's very gifted. He's an annoying little gnat that I once squashed. And that's his job. That's his role. Call me whatever you want. I'm not saying that I want the guy actually injured. I don't like seeing him on TV because he annoys me so goddamn much. But he is incredibly gifted. He has not really added much to Lashley's character, but neither has creative, like Michael Hayes. Because Michael Hayes, the stupid racist dumb fuck that he is, drove Lashley out of the goddamn company. Because Michael Hayes is a goddamn piece of shit. So, Lio, you know what? I don't really like Lio all that much. I don't. Maybe he actually is a nice guy. I don't know. Maybe it's just youth. Maybe it's just stupidity. Whatever. But I'm going to go to another executive here. So Lio gets pushed off to the side. Let's talk about Kevin Dunn. Let's talk about Kevin Dunn for a bit. The stupid Bucky Beavertooth motherfucker that deserves to be knocked the fuck out and kicked out the freaking door. I was hoping when Braun invaded the, the trailer, that Kevin Dunn would trip down the goddamn stairs, snap his teeth off on that goddamn concrete, and he would be, forced to leave WWE. He would just be forced to be, taken completely out of the company for good. Vince McMahon's a goddamn idiot for ever hiring, bringing him in, and keeping him there. Because he's a stupid piece of shit that hates women, and he does hate women. He disrespects the damn women all the time. You could tell with how the women were shot back in, the Attitude Era and stuff like that and everything up to now. Kevin Dunn doesn't respect the damn women. You could tell by looking at him. No one has a nice goddamn thing to say about him. Anybody that does, good for you. If you kind of like Kevin Dunn, that's fine. I'm not saying that Kevin Dunn should die, but Kevin Dunn had no goddamn business ever being in wrestling because he knows nothing about wrestling. It's sports entertainment or whatever. We're not a wrestling company or whatever. Well, no, Kevin, you wouldn't know what wrestling is because you've never done an athletic thing in your fucking life. You stupid, worthless, small-minded little man. And I'm sure all these women that you've, gratuitously shot or whatever, all these women that you think are beautiful, and quite a few of them are. I'm not discrediting any of the women here, but a lot of the women that he thinks are beautiful or that he disrespects or whatever by showing them badly on camera, Kevin, you couldn't pay them enough money in the world to sleep with you. I'm willing to bet that Kevin Dunn is probably a goddamn virgin because who the fuck would want to sleep with somebody that looked that goddamn horrible? And I know I'm not a fucking great looking guy and I've never claimed to be. But I also don't have millions of dollars that I earn in WWE and continue to earn in WWE for doing what? Doing some of the worst editing, the worst, camera work, the worst directing? I mean, who the fuck? I thought WCW in 2000 was bad, and the only reason they were bad is because they kept having people come in that were doing a whole bunch of stupid shit. And no, I'm not talking about Russo. I'm talking about the people that were running the company that knew nothing about goddamn wrestling. Kevin Dunn doesn't know a goddamn thing about wrestling. He wouldn't know what to do with a woman if she ever threw herself at him, and I think the only way she would throw herself at him is to take him over the side of a goddamn cliff. Kevin Dunn is a piece of shit, and I am embarrassed that he has ever been involved in wrestling. Yeah, I hate him. I tell him that to his goddamn face. Cornette hates him. So many other people hate him. And he has a right to be, and, people have a right to hate him. You know why? Because Kevin Dunn basically is one of the devils of WWE. If he was not there, if he was never there, do you know how much better WWE would have been? Seriously, how much better would WWE have been if Kevin Dunn had never even been around or even been born? But that's another story for another day. No, I do not like Kevin Dunn one goddamn bit. Can you tell? Number 9, the Colognes. They've been around WWE. They're not interesting. They're not bad athletes. Their dad, of course, helped cover up the murder of Bruce Brody, but that's okay because it's not their fault. but they've just never been interesting to me. Whether they were Primo and Epico, whether they were Los Matadores, which was a terrible gimmick, all this stuff. It was absolutely rancid watching the stuff that they had to endure. Now, to be fair, they're good athletes, but one's injured and then one's on on house shows. One's and then the other one's injured and the other one's on house shows. There's just nothing. There's no reason for them to be here, and they're not bad people. They're just not interesting. They're probably the least interesting wrestler that's on this list. Well, least interesting male wrestler. I just never care. I don't hate the Colognes as people. I just don't understand why they're still employed. Are they just there because WWE forgot that they had them? I do not understand it. Number 8, Jinder Mahal. Look, Jinder, reading interviews or listening to interviews where he did talk about how he was incredibly depressed during the 3MB run because he felt he could contribute a whole lot more. That's terrible. The man Jinder, I have no issue with. The fact he was ever WWE champion was embarrassing, and mainly because of how they did it. It's just he's a mid-card jobber guy that they try to make WWE champion, make him interesting, and nobody bought it. And the only kind of heat he was getting was like, what the fuck is this? This is embarrassing. Why the hell is this happening? He was U.S. champion this Mania, at Mania for like, what, 8 days? 8 goddamn days, and he's been treated like a goddamn jobber ever since. My brain, the interest level in my brain just turns off whenever he's on TV. It's nothing against the man himself. I just do not like the wrestler because I don't find the wrestling character interesting. Number 7, Randy Orton. When Randy Orton stops hating black people, maybe I will stop being so angry towards Orton. Orton makes everything look effortless. Orton is very good in the ring, smooth in the ring, fluid. He is very good at what he does. He can coast. He can make anything look effortless. Randy has also been afforded so many goddamn opportunities over and over and over and over when he hasn't really deserved them because he's acted like a petulant child. And check out another top 10 that I did about wrestlers' egos who ran wild, and you can figure out why I don't really care for Orton. I don't really care whenever he's in the ring now. Yeah, this new heel Randy Orton, the screwdriver thing was what it was. It made me squirm, but mainly because I didn't think WWE would do that stuff. And I'm talking about the Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton Hell in a Cell spot, which was pretty gruesome. But Orton just doesn't interest me anymore. I've been over Orton since about, I would say, 2013. Though he did have one cool moment at WrestleMania 31 when Seth Rollins did that curb stomp and Orton hit that RKO, and Orton was so happy with himself, and he should have been because it was a great RKO, that he almost forgot to cover Rollins. That was pretty funny. But by and large, I have not been interested in Orton in about half a decade. He just isn't interesting anymore. No desire to see him continue to be on WWE TV. He's not going to be a WWE champion again. I mean, he was just as recently as last year. He was a guy that put over Jinder. Okay, whatever. I'm over Orton. He's not interesting. And I don't know if his attitude's necessarily changed. Who knows? Now we move on to number 6, the Bellas. Speaking of people that are completely useless and shouldn't be there, well, even if I wasn't speaking to that, I am now. Brie came back after having a kid and wanted her daughter to see her wrestle. Great, okay, whatever. I'm not even knocking the person Brie Bella. Maybe, a little. I mean, her and Daniel seem happy together. Whatever, go home and be a mom. Build your brand, this kind of stuff. Just stay out of the ring. Because, yeah, after inadvertent or whatever, she ended up injuring Liv Morgan. Okay, accidents happen. It is what it is. But Brie has never been that good of a worker anyway, and just her being in the ring was just absolutely abysmal. The whole thing of the Bellas trying to take down Ronda Rousey at Evolution was absolutely ridiculous. I have no issue with somebody taking down Ronda Rousey and knocking her down a few pegs. Just not Nia Jax. Don't worry, I will get to Nia Jax here in a bit. But the Bellas are just, they shouldn't be wrestling in 2018. Why? For what reason? What reason is there to have the Bellas on TV? Oh, because they're living their dreams. They're doing this kind of stuff. Nikki's doing it with a busted neck. So Brie put her off. Brie, I've ranted about her. Nikki has a busted neck and this and this and this. Okay, she shouldn't be wrestling. I don't want Nikki paralyzed. I don't want Brie paralyzed. I want them both out of the ring. They can be on WWE TV. They can contribute if they want. They just have no business being in the ring in 2018. Nikki especially. Sure, the Nikki Ronda match at Evolution was fine. Nikki's never been an incredible worker anyway. Has she improved? Sure, when you're at about pond scum level, you only can go up. So yeah, she's improved. Some of her feuds, like her feud with Natty and her feud with Carmella in 2016, 2017, those were fine because Nikki wasn't anywhere near the title picture. But that's my problem. They're talking about, oh, Nikki deserves another title run. Why? Oh, her neck. Okay, let's give every injured wrestler another title run. By that logic, that's stupid. The women's division needs to go forward, and it can't do that when the Bellas are still in the ring. So, will the Bellas probably wrestle in 2019? Probably. Hopefully, maybe the Iconics face them at WrestleMania or something like that, and the Iconics just smash them. In fact, if you're going to have the Bellas in the Rumble, have the Iconics in the Rumble. Have the Iconics face off with them, and then have the Iconics throw out the Bellas. How about that? A little fancy booking here that I'm going to do in this video. Nikki is somebody that, I'm sorry, she wouldn't be where she's at if it wasn't for the people that she was with. No matter how hard she worked, no matter whatever, why in the world would they want to have brought her back? Seriously. And you can go back to Randy Orton. If Randy Orton wasn't third generation superstar, you think he would have been afforded all these opportunities? Fuck no. It is about as much who you know as how hard you work. But yeah, that's all I got to really say about the Bellas because it's not very interesting. Now, number 5, Brock Lesnar. If I got Brock's deal to take all that money, to not do that much wrestling, and show up when, asked, and not very often, okay, sure, I take it. I don't blame Brock for that. Brock, to me, is lazy. I have not found any of his matches interesting in a number of years. People point to his AJ Styles match at last year's Survivor Series. Okay, sure. It's fine if you guys like that. People like this match with Daniel Bryan at the most recent Survivor Series. It had its moments, but Brock's offense is just so basic. I don't care. I haven't found Brock that interesting. When he won the Universal title, I had a fear he was going to hold on to it for a year. I didn't think he was going to hold on to it for almost a year and a fucking half, or at least like a year and a third, which was absolutely revolting, terrible. Can't fucking stand the fact that he was champion that long. Now he's champion again. He's probably going to be champion till at least WrestleMania. God help us all. God help us all. I don't care who beats him. Have him beaten on a random Raw by Kurt Hawkins or something. Have Apollo Crews do it. Not that Apollo Crews and Kurt Hawkins are the same people, but come on, just get the title off of Lesnar. Lesnar, I've just been over. I've been bored. Does he still get a pop? Sure. Oh, he's got to draw on the casual fans. He's got to do this kind of stuff. I'm not knocking anybody that wants to tell me that kind of stuff. And if you find Lesnar interesting, that is great. I'm not knocking any fans that find Lesnar interesting. But I have been bored by him for a number of years. They need to move on from the guy. He is not. He's not worth the money they're paying him. If they're still paying him any kinds of hundreds of thousands of dollars to wrestle one match, like each match, that's stupid. I'm sorry, it's just dumb. Now, WWE is flush with cash, but they could be spending that money on other people. Give a bonus to the women, which hopefully they did with that Crown Jewel blood money. Yeah, Brock, I'm over him. Over him, don't care about him anymore. Baron Corbin. I wanted to give a chance to, even in 2014 and early 2015. But he started heel turn. I just have not found him interesting since he's been on the main roster because he's been, quite frankly, booked like shit. He won the Mania 32 Battle Royal, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then he won Money in the Bank, got booked like shit for that. He's currently the Raw GM, at least as a recording of this video. Who knows what's going to happen at TLC? Make Alexa the new Raw GM if she can't wrestle anymore, which would be unfortunate. But have her be the new Raw GM. She at least is interesting and has charisma, and Corbin does not have that. Is Corbin a bad guy? Fuck if I know. I don't care. I'm not saying I want people to lose their goddamn jobs. But why is Corbin still there? He's a big guy that can sort of wrestle-ish, but his matches have not been interesting for a number of years. It's been well over 2 years since I've seen any kind of match from one-on-one match, by the way, because you could put somebody in a 3-way or 4-way or a 5-way, because I think he was part of that 5-way at Fastlane last year, which he wasn't that bad in because he didn't have to do so much. I don't find Corbin that interesting. I just don't. That's really what it is here. And I mean, as a wrestling character, as a human being, I don't really give a shit because I don't know him as a human being. And now we move on to number 3, Tamina. Why the fuck is Tamina still employed? Why wasn't she released like in 2015? Oh, because her dad, Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Yay! A guy that murdered his girlfriend. Got away with it, still got money from Vince, still got a push from Vince, got brought back in like, the late 80s, early 90s, that kind of, actually I think it was the early 90s. Got brought back multiple times, got brought back in 96 for a Survivor Series appearance. Okay, Jimmy Snuka's a fucking murderer. And I'm not saying it's Tamina's fault. It's not. She can't help that. That's not her fault. But Tamina is useless. She's fucking useless. She spent more time on the sidelines than Mark Henry did. And Mark Henry spent a lot of goddamn time on the sidelines. Injured, unable to do anything when he was on the main roster. I know he did some OVW stints during his time when he was recovering from injury and trying to get back into in-ring shape, but more often than not, like he would have some performances and then get injured. But this isn't about Mark Henry. This is about Tamina, who can't fucking wrestle. She can barely throw a super kick. She can barely move, and I'm sure that her body is beat up. I mean, she's 41 and probably has the body of a 61-year-old with how many injuries she's had. Is she a bad person? Fuck if I know. Do I care? No. Because this is about wrestlers. This is about the wrestling character. She is just... Why in the world is Tamina still employed? Oh, her dad. Good. Who gives a shit? There have been people... If it was about her dad, Sim Snuka would still be employed. Snuka's son, who hopefully hasn't ended up like his dad. And Tamina, thankfully... I'm glad they didn't release Tamina right after her dad died. Because that would have been seen as pretty damn cruel. And I'm pretty certain that's probably the reason why they're keeping her around. That, and she just recently came back from an injury, so they're probably doing the same thing they did with Rey Mysterio, where they kept adding months onto his contract. They're like, hey, we paid you all this downside money, we're going to extend your contract to get more out of you. They're probably doing that with Tamina. But on a recent Raw, she hit this Superfly splash, that was like a couch slowly falling downstairs. It was, and no, that's not a weight joke. That's literally what it looked like. It looked like a big piece of furniture falling downstairs. Very, very slowly. It was just not good. Tamina cannot wrestle anymore. She couldn't really wrestle that much anyway in the first place, though her and the Usos had an interesting debut against the Hart Dynasty, I believe, because I believe it was Davey Boy Smith, Tyson Kidd, and Natalya. That was when Davey Boy Smith Jr. was still there, believe it or not. And that now he's in Japan killing it with Lance Archer. So that's great. But Tamina just serves no purpose. Oh, second generation. Good. Maybe she could be more than second best, of the women in the ring. And when she's facing somebody like Dana Brooke, who at least tries to get better. I may not be a huge Dana Brooke fan, but for fuck's sake, at least she's trying to get better and she's doing it while not having a famous parent to fall back on. And it's just, seriously, Tamina losing her father, okay, it was terrible, even though her father was a goddamn murderer. She knew him as her father. But Tamina is fucking useless. Totally useless, should not be on TV. And yeah, every time she's on TV, I'm just like, yeah, okay, great. Here's this wild-haired woman that can't move. Oh, hi, Nia Jax, you stupid, dumb cunt. I didn't see you there. And yeah, I'm breaking out that word because Nia Jax, she could be a nice person. She could be one of the sweetest people in the world. She's a stupid botch machine cunt. And I said it just as much before. She's like, she wrestles with the agility and the mobility of a couch that's been left out in the rain for 10 goddamn days. I have seen two-legged gazelles that move with more grace than her. I have seen dead zebras that somehow can wrestle better than her. Fucking whale carcasses move better than she does. And I know that a lot of it's got to have to do with her size. And I'm sure she's self-conscious about it. And that is terrible as she is. But you know what? If you're unable to do it because of your size or because of whatever, don't fucking wrestle. She's injured multiple people. Ember, Zelina, Bailey, Becky most recently. And what really bothered me was just watching this montage of her just not being good. Her almost getting Charlotte injured twice. Sasha Banks, various people. She can't, Alexa, she just can't fucking wrestle. She's gotten worse in the ring since she got called up to the main roster. And okay, she's had to learn on the fly this kind of stuff. People say, oh, well, her match with Ronda Rousey was pretty good. Well, yeah, it's because Ronda Rousey's an actual goddamn athlete. I'm sorry, Nia Jax is not an athlete. She's somebody that is only there because of Dwayne, Rock the Dwayne Johnson. That is the only reason she's there. She would not be there if it wasn't for a relation to him. Sure, we can get plus size women and you know, different type of body types in wrestling, and that's great. And hopefully young women can be inspired, but they should be inspired by somebody that isn't a goddamn botch machine, that isn't a fucking idiot. Now, does she feel bad for injuring people? I sure hope so. They're currently having her lean into this whole thing about being the face breaker, which great. That just shows that you get rewarded for breaking people's faces, because it's not about how good you are in the goddamn ring. It's about who you know. Now, WWE better hope that Becky can come back from this, and that Becky isn't permanently injured and out of the ring, because if that's the case, then Nia Jax should be fired. That's all I really have to say about that. Nia Jax really shouldn't be in WWE anyway, because she isn't any good, but we know why she's there. So anyway, let's get to number one. And number one, this is going to be brief because I'm not going to mention names beyond the wrestler, but Michael Elgin is number one. Google Michael Elgin and Scandal if you want to know what the fuck I'm talking about, because I can't get into all the details on it. I'm not going to mention anyone else's name that is involved in this scandal. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be like Meltzer and do that because he apparently thinks that Elgin is a really, you know, it should, you know, be protected like that, because Meltzer was a goddamn idiot for doing that. If you don't know what I mean, Google Dave Meltzer, Michael Elgin, you'll figure it out. There will be links for that, because I can't go over all the details of that because I'll lose my goddamn mind. The bottom line is Michael Elgin is a goddamn creep. He totally disrespectful towards women. You will absolutely see what I have to say about that. But he just comes off as scuzzy. As talented as he is in the ring, and he is talented as far as his agility and his strength, he's not really very interesting when you see him wrestle, because he can hit about 5 moves. Well, 6. There's a dive that he can hit outside. Other than that, the guy really isn't much of anything. He just isn't. But Michael Elgin is a goddamn piece of shit, and I literally tune out of almost anything he does in New Japan, even currently during World Tag League that's going on right now, and he's teaming with Jeff Cobb. I will root for Cobb. If Cobb gets the pin, great. If Elgin gets the pin, I'm not happy. I'm happy for Cobb, because Cobb gets a win for his, you know, gets a win also for his team. But no, I hate Elgin. I hate Michael Elgin. More people should figure out why I hate him and why others hate him and why some promotions won't book him. So figure it out, Google it, and you'll understand why. Because going into that much detail, I wouldn't be able to do it justice. But let's just say it's bad. And Michael Elgin should be held accountable. And hopefully he goddamn is. Because he's a fucking idiot and a fucking piece of shit. But that's all I have to say. What do you guys think? Who are your least favorite wrestlers that you of 2018? Doesn't matter what promotion they're in. Now, I almost put Sami Callihan on this list, but you know why I didn't put Sami Callihan on here? Because why? Why? I don't watch enough Impact Wrestling. I just don't find Sami Callihan very interesting, but outside of that bad incident with Eddie Edwards, and I think one thing he did with Kevin Sullivan or whatever, is like he's a hardcore bullshit wrestler that can't do anything in the ring, but that's about it. Is he a bad guy? Fuck if I know. But Michael Elgin deserves to take number 1 spot. So that's what I have to say. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin, and I will see you soon.